this is Jamie Magridge. Welcome to Jamie's Craft Table. Today I'm going to show you how I made this card. I'm going to make it a little bit different. I'm going to add a texture to this piece. And this piece is just going to be one paper instead of two. Okay, so let's get started here. Alright, I've got a couple of die cuts and I cut them out at the same I'll show you that. I've got a scrap of white for my sentiment. This piece is 4 1/4 by 3 1/2 inches, and I've run it through an embossing folder. Can you see that texture? Actually, it's a die. It's not an embossing folder. I'll show you. And this is real red, 4 3/4 by 4 inches. And then I have a piece of that pattern party designer series paper, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. It'll cover the whole front of my card. And then I have a thick card base, 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored and folded at 4 1/4. So that'll go on there like that. Okay. Put that aside for a minute. Put this one aside for a minute. Alright, and then I had a couple blends. It's a very small space to color, so I'm not going to do much shading just on the pot. I have Poppy Parade. I have light and dark Calypso Coral and light Granny Apple Green. I'm going to be using some of the red rhinestone basic jewels. I have a bow from this gingham ribbon. Stitched greenery dies. I don't know. No, I didn't use this. Why is this in here? Okay, I use these two dies here. This is the, I think it's the 4th largest circle, whichever one that fits perfectly around this circle. And this is part of the Tasteful labels dies. And this one fits perfectly around it. So what I did for the brown piece, here's the other piece that came out of it. This is crumb cake. Well, I can't get it to line up now that I'm trying to. Like that. I ran it through at the same time, and this is what I came out with. And then I just popped this one out, and then I ran this one through on a white piece so I could get the center in white. Okay, so that's how I did that. The original one I stamped in and colored it directly on the front of the card, but I want to add some texture to the background, so I came up with this one. And the only part that I used was this piece. Okay, so put these aside. I used the Feels Like Home stamp set from Salebrabration, and I used this stamp here, and I can't thank you enough. Let's get those out because I didn't get them out yet. Usually I have all this prepared in advance, but for some reason it's this one. This is really too big, but we're going to make it work. Let's see if I have a smaller one in here that would fit on. Fit on this? I don't think it does. No, it doesn't fit on there. Alright. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and stamp. I'm just using Memento black ink. I forgot to bring out the embossing. That's why. Stitched greenery die. This is the die that I used to do the background. That's why that was in there. I was in my mind this morning. I apologize. Alright, let's ink up this pot. Move on to tuxedo black ink. And stamp it right in the center of this little circle. Hey, Bit, what you doing? Good boy. And then I'm going to stamp the sentiment on this strip here. We'll have to cut this down. It's obviously way too thick. Perfect. All right. This is a little blotchy, but that's all right. We're going to use it anyway. Okay. The Poppy Parade or Real Red, whichever one. Let's use Real Red since I'm using Real Red paper. So I'm going to use light Real Red. I'm going to color the flowers. And it's basically you're just touching the paper because there isn't much else to it. Let's do the pot. So I'm going to take the dark color and around the edge here, I'm going to put a little bit of dark color, and I'm basically just touching the card. And then I'm coming in with a light calypso coral. I'm coloring in the whole rest of the pot. I'm using the small bullet end because it's a very small space. Okay, that's all the detail work, and then I'm going to come in with the Granny Apple Green, and I'm going to color all these leaves. Alright. Now I'm going to trim this one. Let me do it this way if I can, so you can see what I'm doing. Let's go down a little bit more. Basically, if I can see it in my track, it's probably going to cut off, so I want to not see it in the track. Okay, then I'm going to take my scissors, cut this shorter. I'm going to fishtail the ends, just snip into the center, and from the corner to the bottom of that center cut. Do the same thing on this side. Snip into the center. It's about a 1/4 of an inch maybe. However deep you want your fishtail to be. And from the corner to the bottom of that center cut. Okay. Alright, now let's bring in our pieces and go ahead and start assembling. So we need some glue. Which one is full? This one. I'll go ahead and mount this to the front of our card. You can use your seal if you want, whatever adhesive you're more comfortable with. I prefer the wet glue, it gives me that little bit of a wiggle room so I can get it right where I want it. I have a tendency with this tape runner, the seal or whatever other ones, to get things cattywampus. Okay. Now we're going to take this white piece, 4 1/4 by 3 1/2 inches, and this is 4 3/4 by 4. We're going to mount this one onto there. It's quite a big border, like 1/4 of an inch. Okay, this one's going to get mounted on here. And I think I'm going to add dimensionals on this one. I didn't on my first one, but make a couple changes. Take those backs off. Okay, and on my original I moved it over to one side a little bit. And I think I'm going to center it on this one. Let's see the difference. Since it's the same paper, I think it looks better. Okay. I need some dimensionals on the back of this. And with this one, this is thin, so we need to make sure we're lining up those flat edges. Some glue on me or something. Set that aside for a minute. Let's bring in these. I'm going to put this piece on first, because you want to make sure your pot is right side up. So put that on down here. And I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the back of this. Just a little tiny bits. Don't need much. And then this is going to get lined up with those. There we go. Now we're going to bring in our sentiment. Stick that right on over the top. Okay, we're going to bring in our bow. Let's make a bow real fast. Thought I had one made, but okay. Bring in a glue dot. Cat hairs, yuck. Put the bow down here. Okay, I'm going to come in with my rhinestones. I'm going to bring my take your pick tool. I'm going to add a couple of these down here. And then one over here. That gives you that visual triangle. There we go. There's a card we just made together. I added that little bit of dimension, and I added that texture to the background. And this paper is all one paper instead of two different papers. And then here's this one, it's all flat. There's no texture here. I wonder which one you prefer. Well, thank you so much for joining me today at Jamie's Craft Table. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you can find a little bit of time to play with some stamps, ink, and paper.